Hello and welcome to the class on the importance of mainframe security education. My name is Steve Hosey and my company name is Cybersecurity.Services. How many here have gotten in a position or have gone into a position in mainframe IA where you really didn't know what you were doing when you first started? Okay. How many of you have staff that you inherited or received from other teams that are brand new to mainframe IA? A lot of us? How many of those staff could spell mainframe without the space? All right. So it's important. Let's start the slides. Our agenda today is to talk about valued stakeholders. Those are the people with the budget strings. Identify the who and why. What level of education, what the missing link is, and then provide you with some educational links. Values stakeholders. You can read the slides. I'll try not to read them too much. But it's inadequate and ineffective security controls have left individuals and corporations more vulnerable to illegal activities. That's a fact. It's a fact that lack of training guarantees inadequate security controls will be implemented due to a complete and utter lack of understanding. If you ask a security administrator, what are the critical resources they're protecting? And their answer is TSO, CICS, Batch, Roscoe. You have a problem. If they know what the dataset names or resource names are, then the next question is, well, who has update? And if they don't know the answer, you have a problem. If your cybersecurity team are not educated in how to fully and properly utilize the security products, how do you know that your data is secure? These are basic questions. Unfortunately, we're not hearing these questions be asked by the stakeholders. We're not hearing these questions asked by the managers, other than the direct team managers responsible for those IA team members that work with them day to day. What are your top 10 critical resources and how are they protected? Who has access and when was it last verified or validated? If your team isn't educated in how to utilize the security products, the tools you have, CA Top Secret, ACF2, CA Cleanup, how are they protecting your system and resources? How are they protecting the application? How do you know as management that they're doing the job? How are you able to tell your CISO the system is secure, the data is secure? How do you know it wasn't compromised yesterday? These are all good questions. Just because an auditor failed to look where to look or to ask the right question. How many here have been audited? Hopefully all of you. How many times were those audits fluff and duff? Yeah, right, okay. Imagine if someone who has 30 years of mainframe IA comes into your shop and is now the auditor and has some real questions to ask. Would you pass your audits honestly?
What's the success criteria?
What's the definition of done, right? Same thing, I mean.
Yeah.
But honestly, if they asked some hard questions and had knowledge about mainframe and mainframe IA and the security product and what should be protected, what should not be protected, who should have it. If I ask you how many people who have update access to Sys1 Palmlide, not you, let me ask your actual technicians, the people who are supposed to be doing the work, would they know? If that's their responsibility, shouldn't they know? If I talk too fast, let me know. Investing in the education, the value of the stakeholders is by investing in the education of the mainframe cybersecurity staff, they'll know the proper utilization of the tools, and it is a direct investment in the security of your data. That's the bottom line. When they don't budget for it and they don't send the people to class, what are they saying in volumes? This speaks volumes. They want the data protected, but they're not willing to invest and put budget and money and resources to get your teams educated. That's huge. How can you be able to manage that, make sure it's happening without an educated team on how to use proper utilization of the tools for whatever their scope is? Who are the mainframe security administrators? There's different definitions. I'll go through some of them. They are actually who the cybersecurity team members at the mainframe, ZOS system level, should be the individuals who are responsible for the security controls of the ZOS system level and third-party products. In my world, often your world, you may have teams that are responsible for the actual security controls on that mainframe LPOR or mainframe LPARs if you have a complex environment. Then you may have others who are responsible for the application layer, decentralized security administrators who are responsible for protecting of the actual customer data, not the system, sys1 PARM library resources, and there may be a separation there. Often there is in organizations, again, it depends upon your organization. Without educating of the system level team members, that would scare me. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if it was my responsibility. I've seen where teams get turned over and the new person coming in the door has a college degree. He still spells mainframe with a space. If that happens, do they know how to spell TSS, ACF2? I asked them the other day how to spell RACF. No kidding. They weren't sure. Things like JCL, TSO, and how to log out of the system and interact with the system is very important. It's also very important not just to teach them how to use the security product, but also mainframe security concepts. How to apply the product to get the end result of a secure system and secure data. Who performs mainframe security? Kind of touched on that already. It's the individuals who are responsible for cybersecurity controls over the application data. That's the next step beyond the system level, the operating system level. You have HIPAA data, you have PII data, you have other sensitive data, you have trademarks, patent data. Who's responsible for actually securing that data? Often it could be the separate teams. Was that a question? Okay. Often they're separate teams. So are they trained in knowing how to secure the data they're responsible for? What is their scope? What is their responsibility? Have they gone to the basics classes? Have they sat down and had any classes given on concepts of mainframe and how the mainframe security tools work? Are they using CA cleanup? If CA cleanup's on the LPAR, are they using it? Or is it just sitting there being used by the system level security administrators? If the application folks don't know about the tools, they can't use them. If they're not educated in the tools, they can't use them. When I go look at a system and we have payroll data, access out there for payroll data, and it hasn't been used in 1,775 days, why is the access still there? If you're validating to meet federal FISCAM controls, which is you're supposed to validate all access controls annually for financial systems, and there's access rules out there that access hasn't been used in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, how do you say that access is still needed? That gets down to the demonstrated need and at least access principles. If you don't know how to use the products, how are you going to use them? Who else should receive security product training, education? We have the help desk. They get all the phone calls from everybody, don't they? They probably do password resets, maybe, in some organizations. If they get a customer who says, I need access to such and such data, how do they know what that process is? Is that process shared with the help desk? Is that a defined process and procedure? So when a customer needs access to an application, does the help desk know which team to send that ticket to or that security service request to? And that's part of the education. Because if they don't, and you send the tickets to the ZOS system security team, then now they have to take their resource time up to deal with a customer application access issue that should have went to the right team. Does that make sense? Am I making sense here? Auditors. There's two different types of auditors. You're going to get, in different organizations, you're going to get audited at the application layer. It's a payroll application, it gets audited by itself. But along with it, they're going to ask questions about the operating system security controls. What is the basis that this application is running, and how is that entire platform secure, not just the application, because they tie hand in hand. Are they educated in our mainframe security tools? How often do you say no? How often would you say they've been educated? Every single one I've met in the last 18 years, they're educated, but they're not educated in how the mainframe security works or the tool sets. They're not educated in what questions to ask or what's important on the mainframe. A couple years ago, I got asked, I want you to provide the entire list of all the passwords on the mainframe. No kidding. Really? Is that what you want? No. And their justification was because the mid-tier world has this security model out there. And it's highly hackable. Well, unless you give your access to your security database files on the mainframe, you don't have that issue. So the answer is still no. But you're right, we have to spend how much time educating our auditors, and that's just to get them up to the basics. They really need to seek out the mainframe security tool suites and get some basic education on that. Get some basic education on mainframe security concepts and what is needed to secure in the mainframe versus mid-tier. Develop some checklists that are applicable to the mainframe. Don't come to us with a mid-tier checklist and say, we're doing an audit. Because those of us here in this room are going to laugh at them and look at them and say, how do you spell mainframe again? No, it's not with a space. Our application auditors. Often our application auditors, they're external sometimes, but often they may be internal teams. So how do we get them more informed and educated about how to use the tools and truly be able to audit using auditor accounts on our mainframe environments? Using user IDs that give them the access to go look but not make changes. For them to have more intellectually interface with the actual people performing the mainframe security. That produces a better audit. That produces a true results in audits, not a fluff and duff. Oh, it's a great looking paper, it has a couple findings, those are easy to fix. While there may be a lot larger risks involved that are unseen or unknown because the auditors are not educated in how to utilize the security products. One thing I didn't touch about the stakeholders. Think about that. I'll get back to that. What level of training? What level of training goes based upon what levels the individual team members are at. Whether you're an auditor, you're an application level cybersecurity team member, you're management over those teams, right, Steve? You are owners of customer applications or data, PMOs or POs or whatever different titles they give. You're the manager of the ZOS teams. And one level that's not in here is the stakeholders. One of the items that I think that's very important for all of us to try and figure out the appropriate way to educate our CISO and our stakeholders of the senior managers of our companies and businesses is the mainframe security model. A lot of us have seen data move off the mainframe. They all said the dinosaur is going away. Last time I checked, that roaring dinosaur is coming back to eat their lunch. And thank God for that. If we secure our platforms, our mainframe platforms, using appropriate security controls with educated staff and how to properly utilize those controls, we have one of the most secure platforms that's available for computing and the horsepower behind it. If only that security model could be socialized with our senior management so they understand the difference of that secure data processing platform versus the mid-tier where so much data is compromised on an every 5-second or nearly 1-second basis as all these servers continue to be hacked. I think that would make a huge, huge difference. It would also make a huge difference once they understand that, the importance of budgeting for and ensuring our staff is educated on the mainframe security tools. Don't just put people in those positions who aren't trained, who don't know how to spell mainframe, who don't know JCL. It's important that they do have the skill set, otherwise you're shooting ourselves in the foot. Again, levels of training. ZIO's system programmers and cybersecurity teams. This is another area. We know that we have to trust, as cybersecurity professionals, we have to trust our system programmers. A good system programmer can walk around, circles around every IA team member. They can bypass security, and you're really not going to know it unless you're running baselines or some other checks and balances on the system. Our system programmers, why do we need to educate them in cybersecurity? Who often is most often responsible for setting up third-party vendor software products, internal settings, so they interface with the SAP products? And why are they not required to have mainframe cybersecurity training? Good question. It seems like it's a no-brainer, but I think it's something that we need to get those managers thinking about and making sure all the team members at that level are playing in the same understanding, at least of the security model, at least of the capabilities and features of the security products that we have. So when your IA teams go to those system programmers and says, here's a CA cleanup report, you haven't used all this access in 5 years. We need to clean it up so we can meet our audit requirements. We need to clean it up so we have less rules to manage. And then that system programmer is going to go, oh yeah, I remember having a class on that. I remember what that does. I can trust that report. I have an understanding of what you're talking about. So you're not always talking in Chinese to them, or let me use a different word, Jupiterese from planet Jupiter, as sometimes we're all accused of talking to even system programmers with. You're just from Jupiter. I know you are, right? No, but it puts us all on the same dialect of security, with the same priority about security, and the same understanding that security team has a job to do. They're using the tools, and you've socialized those security tools, the features and capabilities with the other system programmers. Does that make sense? Again, what level of training? Training on how to review, document, and properly secure the applications and the data on the ZIOS mainframes. I've been to many organizations and I've asked those who are responsible, the data owners, the application owners of vast data, sensitive data, some very highly sensitive data, what is your IA team responsible for? How are they protecting it? And then we bring their IA team into the meeting and ask them, what's the top 25, or I start with the top 10, most critical resources of your application? And the data owner, we've already had the discussion saying that they should know. And yet they don't have the documentation. It's not documented anywhere. If something happens to one of the IA team members, gets ran over by a bus, or they decide to up and retire with 1 day notice or 2 days notice, the next person who comes in has empty hands. So, you, again, is not protecting the data. And that's because they're not educated on how to do it, what to do it, or where to do it. All levels need to be trained and understand what the priority is. It's not just the IA team members, but educating and sharing this information with all levels of management and all the diverse teams that we interact with is going to help us as IA professionals. What is the missing link? In 30 years of doing IA and mainframes, I work with a lot of professionals at the ZIOS system level. It's their day-to-day mission to do the operating system level. And for the most part, I've found a great number of peers that are highly professional technical through hands-on. there wasn't a lot of classes and courses offered. It's something that we're seeing even at CA World. We're not seeing courses and classes offered in security, mainframe security products. It's kind of a sad thing, and hopefully y'all can help by being a voice and putting a little pressure and saying we want this. We'd love to see some classes at the next CA World. We'd love to see that online CBT course that's down in the labs. It's available in the lab for CA, ACF2 and Top Secret and CA Cleanup. You'd love to see that made available to you, the customers, online. Talk to your CA reps. Tell them that you'd like to see that online. Because that's a CBT course, self-paced, that your teams can use to help educate themselves at work. And it's already available. It just needs to be what can CA do for that. The missing link, though, 99% of the time, while we have secure and we have documentation on how to secure our mainframes, that computing platform, our customer applications often do not actually have the documentation that's been handed from one team member retiring to the staff that really replaced them. What are those actual resource name rules? What are the sensitive CICS transactions? How is the internal IDMS security handled, or if it's externalized with the appropriate security product? What do all these resource names mean? How many times when you go and ask them, they're like, I don't know. And then they say, well, how are we supposed to know? No one ever documented this. No one ever gave us turnover. That's often the missing link. So while your teams may do great jobs at securing the platform, many years doing it, what about the actual people writing the rules, granting access to the customer data, the end application data? When were that last documented or updated? What are your top 25 or 50 most critical resources for your customer data, the end user data? That's sensitive data. And who has access? We find audit after audit, this hasn't been documented. And so if it's not documented, and this is how to use the security products, as well as the concepts of how to apply the security products into those applications. It's just not documented. If it's not documented, you can't fault your team members for not knowing how to apply the security products, except for they need education, because this other missing link is it's not documented at the application level. What are all the controls and how should they be there? That's important. Do they know how to effectively utilize the security products to secure those resources? We find, again, often the LPAR level may have training. The more remote, decentralized customers, they don't get training. They never know about where the classes are, or what classes are offered, or how to get that education. How to blend security product syntax with the appropriate application cybersecurity concepts. That's so important. Knowing the actual command syntax, to knowing which access controls are appropriate, who should have update, who should have read, which security permission should be logged. Having the knowledge of when to tell a customer no, they can't have access. How to apply access of none. There's people out there that when you ask, yeah, we know how to grant read, we don't know how to grant none to a subset of those customers because they want 10 but not 20. Most of us know it takes years of learning and education and dedication to become a mainframe cybersecurity professional. How do we get this whole concept about the importance of security product education raised up to our CISO level? How do we get buy-in to the stakeholders that it's not optional for training? It's not optional to train the college-educated kids that are coming in to the workforce now. They're not all going to get a GUI and have a pretty nice desktop to look at. They're going to have to get their hands dirty. They're going to have to get in and do the nuts and bolts of security. Otherwise, we're going to fail as an organization to protect the data in the long term. Questions? Comments?
What you said is right on the money.
Is there any
These slides are all going to be made available by CA online. Are we all in agreement on this or something?
Yeah. I wish that we get the CIOs to know.
Where do we get this education?
So before I go to the next slide, this class was done in memory of a good friend of many of us who've been in the mainframe world. And Michael passed away the first of the year. So Godspeed, and I just want to share that with you in case you didn't know. Absolutely. He was an incredible guy. He was a great man. So, where to get security classes? Oh gosh, this is a good question. Currently, right now, CA World provides unlimited self-directed downstairs in the lab if your teams happen to come to CA World. You can search online for nca.com for education and find courses there. And the third one is, please, I can't encourage you enough. Pressure your CA reps to get that online CBT class that's available in the lab made available on ca.com so that your teams, not only your teams, but your customers who are using the products can get some of the basics. And the basics go a long ways, because once you start the basics, then you can start having a discussion about how to use the syntax. And you're not spending the time having to mentor those customers on how to do TSS revoke, or permit, or replace, or create, or the ACF2 commands, how to decomp and comp rules. The other suggestion I would have, what I found in lieu of all this to be very helpful on a practical point of view, I've been responsible for last 9 months this time. Before that was 13 LPARs. Now I have 21 LPARs in primary and 7 that I'm backup on. Set 1 hour aside for one of your really good, solid team members to utilize technology today and to do offer an hour mentoring session. And I went to this because I got over 70 decentralized application security administrators who call and need help. And so instead of spending all my time answering the same question repeatedly, I decided I was going to set up a mentoring session once a week. You can do it every other week, whatever works for your organization. And you do screen sharing, teleconference. It doesn't matter where the person is at, anywhere in the world, they can use technology. And they start showing those customers the basics. Go over the basics, start with the basics. And then talk about how to apply that to their particular application area. Ask them questions. What are your critical resources? Okay, homework for next week is you come up with a list of your critical resources. And we'll go specifically into those to see who has access to them and show you the commands and walk you through some of that. You're not training them necessarily, you're mentoring them by using that huge amount of education and understanding you have at that level to help the extended team as a whole. And the more we help that whole, the better we become as a whole team protecting the data. Because it really is about how do we protect that end data. It's not all about how this one team protects the operating system. It's about the whole picture. Are we a single team, or do we have an extended team for all these IA team members that we can help and grow and become a better team? I think the answer is yes to that. So the idea of mentoring once a week may be very helpful if you can set that session up and offer that. And that's utilizing your own expertise until we can get some better courses available. Do push CA for education courses pre-conference next year at CA World. I hear it's not going to be in Sin City, so maybe your managers will be more up and open to having staff travel for education. But do push them, because it's at places like this that you're going to get, it's easy to get the room full to do a whole day of education or 2 days of education on CA Top Secret or ACF2. I spent the first 2 days this week learning how to manage Scrum, how to become a Scrum Master. My wife said as I text her that it's about managing Scum. I said there's an R in the word. Let's not talk about the other one. So, but mentoring has really gone a long ways, but that's something you can do in-house. But as far as formalized, I always recommend to my customers that I deal with, CA has a great basics course. It's their organization's responsibility to train their teams. We can mentor. And if you put an hour every other week, that's probably a win-win because then your staff's having to answer less questions asked by many of the same repeated question. Does that make sense? Other questions? Any questions back there? So what companies are we all from? In the back. JP Morgan Chase? Yes, sir?
AX companies.
Yes, sir?
Schwab.
Schwab? Charles Schwab? Back in the far corner? You, sir, with the darker shirt.
Healthcare Service Corporation.
You, sir?
Same place.
Ma'am?
Paragon Consulting Services.
Where?
Paragon Consulting Services.
Paragon. You, sir?
Ameriprise.
Ameriprise?
Daniel.
And Wells Fargo. Okay. Well, I thank everybody for coming to the class. We did end a little bit early, I guess, a little faster than I thought it'd be. Questions? Yes.
If you're talking about the CBT classes available, they may not want to make the whole class available, but just those opening modules on it were basically the mainframe security, how what the naked architecture is, and the naked security model is. Those would be useful just that couple. They don't want to let them use the whole class.
Yes, and if you come get my business card, I will email you a few other links because I just found this last week a whole thing about mainframe security architecture from IBM, and it's all free. And it's actually PowerPoints and that stuff. I just don't have the link with me, and I didn't put it in my slide because I didn't find it until yesterday.
Would it be easier if I gave you my card?
That'd be fine too. But yeah, there's other stuff out there that we certainly can help and get that to you. The idea about the CBT, which it's already done, it provides a good basics course. It'd be a great course to get out there, and there's other advantages for CA to provide that if they could. So, other questions, suggestions? Any suggestions on how to improve this next time? Good topic.
Give it to the boss.
Yeah.
Well, please take the slides when they're available on CA and provide them to management and say, hey.
One other suggestion. Without every rep in CA, they used to have excellent training years ago. Most of it was done by Mike.
There's other people
Let
that,
it go by the wayside.
and there's other people that are willing to come to CA World to train, to teach. So but it's a matter of hit up your reps and ask for that. And like I said, see if you can push that for next year.
CA is actually working on updating their security education training right now.
They've been telling me that for several years.
Well,
Last time I brought them into doing the education, it was a disaster.
Actually, we had a good one last time. It was a review.
Last CA World?
No, when we got CA to come in and do a security review of what we were doing.
Okay. One-on-one.
Yeah.
Several years ago, I took one of their top secret training manuals, 600 and some odd pages. Marked up about 300 of them for correction.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much for coming into the session. I appreciate it.